Hey folks, so this is just a continuation of our rational functions discussion. We've got several different things that are going to show up on our graphs that I'd like to let you know about. The first thing is vertical asymptotes. You remember that when we talked about the parents in the last video, we discussed a vertical asymptote, we discussed horizontal asymptotes. Today we're going to talk about how to find those when you're only looking at an equation. In order to find vertical asymptotes, the first thing that you need to do is figure out what kind of x value is going to cause a zero on bottom. I don't care what kind of number you have on top, as long as it's not zero. So what x value makes a zero on bottom, not on top? For horizontal asymptotes, we need to talk about the degrees. This is the degree of the numerator and the degree of the denominator. So if you take a look at the degree up on top, we want to know, is the degree on top higher, lower, or equal to the degree on bottom? So for the first part here, let's discuss whether or not the degree is greater on top than it is on bottom. If this occurs, then my horizontal asymptote simply does not exist. There is no horizontal asymptote. If my degree on top is smaller than my degree on bottom, then my horizontal asymptote is going to occur at the line y equals 0. Y equals 0. And then lastly, the only other option is if my degree up on top is equal to the degree down on the bottom. This one's a little bit lengthier. This one is going to be a fraction. Y is equal to the leading coefficient of the top over the leading coefficient of the bottom. A hole in the graph is like no man's land. It's just a small, tiny little dot that you cannot touch. And so the way that we're going to find a hole in the graph is we have to determine the value that's going to make both a 0 on top and on bottom. So not just the bottom like in the vertical asymptotes, but on top and on bottom. For x-intercepts, you want to determine the x value that will make a 0 on top. And then for y-intercepts, you want to let x equal 0 and simplify. That one shouldn't be such a surprise because we talked about the exact same thing in our polynomials section. So to get just a very quick, easy list, vertical asymptotes, we are looking for whatever will make a number over 0. So we're looking for the x value that makes a 0 on bottom. For horizontal asymptotes, we want to pay attention to the degrees. For holes in the graph, we want to see what x value makes a 0 on top and on bottom at the same time. For an x-intercept, this is what makes a 0 on top only, so the bottom doesn't matter what number it is. And for y-intercepts, we want to let x equal to 0 and then solve. We'll do some examples of this, so bring your list to class, and we'll talk about examples that use each one of these.